Hello everyone, thanks for watching. So in my last video, I made it clear that I wanted to create more content for YouTube. I want to bring art to YouTube one video at a time. Now what does that mean? What does negative art productions mean? Well, I created the production company title when I was 11 years old, and it was a setting on a Sony camera and it's negative art. Basically, it flips everything as an effect. I believe it's called, oh my gosh, I'm gonna screw this up. It's in Boss. I'll probably put the effect on when I'm editing later and correct myself for what it actually is. But that's what negative art production means. Doesn't mean that I'm cynical. That's where the name came from, and I've been doing this for 20 years. And it's always been a passion of mine. This is not what I do for a living, but I feel like I've been doing it for so long that what I'd love this channel to be is showing people my tips and tricks and how I set up what I think are pretty cool shots, what's important for film, and just not even film, but beyond that, recording narratives, documentaries. And not only narratives, it could be things that you film live, it could be podcasts. So what we're covering today in this video is a DIY video setup. That could be for something like what I'm doing right now, a tutorial. That could be for a Zoom meeting in your job and you just want to look super professional, because that's what I do, because I'm a big dork. I use this setup for my Zoom calls. It could be for Twitch streams. It could be for other types of podcasts. It could be a video for someone that you want to send in a different state and you just want it to look good. I'm going to cover that, and I have 3 different levels of budget depending on how serious you want it to look. The first level I will call a decent budget. You know, you're talking a couple $1,000s, which sounds like a lot, but if this is something that you want to do, you're going to need the gear for that. So the first level is decent. The second level is entry. I will call it an entry level budget. We're talking maybe a couple $100s to less than that. And then the third level we're going to discuss is what I had been doing for most of my life up until the first decade of me filming, up until my 20s, which was no budget. So we're talking no budget, DIY, filmmaking, podcasts, whatever you want to capture is what I'm going to cover in this video today. Level 1. So the first area that I'm going to cover is a decent budget. And with this, there's basically 5 areas for every budget. The first area is my camera. I have a Canon 7D Mark I. So the internal hardware of this thing is just amazing. It's a great camera. I've had it for so long, and I like the depth of field that it creates behind me. This is about typically $1,000 to $2,000 on the Craigslist or used market. So we're talking a few grand for this budget. So that's number 1. Number 2, sound. I have a microphone off screen, and that's the look I want, is I don't want you to see the microphone because I want this to be that type of setup. In your setup, you could have whatever you want. And I just want to reiterate that. You don't have to do anything. I'm not saying my setup is better or anything like that. These are just tips and tricks that I've learned along the way from looking at blogs before all YouTube was created. I would go online and look at how to do this. So I use a MXL 990 microphone, and that is linked to a Focusrite Scarlett. So this is what I have. It's the Focusrite, I can't get it. Focusrite Scarlett USB. This is a USB audio interface, typically meant for recording music, but I like to use it for my movies. Now it's very entry level, but I think it sounds amazing compared to how the technology used to be with Firewire. If anyone remembers Firewire back in the day. The USB sounds great. It's got 2 inputs. It's got the XLR. It's got the 1/4-inch jack, so I'm using the XLR mic, and it's got everything you need. I'm actually using a program it came with. It comes with Ableton. You can get Pro Tools. It's amazing. And I'm giving a shout out to Sweetwater because they've hooked me up with all my musical gear. I haven't got discounts, and I'm not saying you're going to get a discount or anything, but it's just a great website, and it's nice to not always support Amazon. Number 3, lighting. So we have lighting. I've got up here, it's a ring light. It's as simple as that. The reason I have it angled up, casting down on me, is this. You can see the ring light in my glasses, and I didn't want that. That's why I have it set at an angle, so most of the video, you can't see that. I don't want you to see the ring light, but this is what I use for most of my videos. I do have some soft light boxes as well, but those are huge and I don't typically need them. So that is the third area. So far we've covered camera, sound, lighting, and also the fourth area is going to be a tripod. You can have a big heavy duty tripod. I do have one that I got on Amazon. You can look at any of the $100, $150 ones, and it's amazing what you'd find. BH Photo Videos, another good website with pretty much the same prices. It just depends on who you want to support for where you go. But tripod. And then the fifth, which honestly is the most important for your DIY video setup. What is your idea? What do you want to capture? This one is all about you. Do you want to do a tutorial like me? Do you want a Twitch stream? Do you want to do podcast? Do you want to look cool on your Zoom calls? It's whatever you want to do, and no one can tell you what your idea is. So that is the fifth area, but that is the most important. So again, we've covered the 5 topics for what I would call decent budget range, a few $1,000s, depending on what you could find, maybe even cheaper. Now what I'm going to do is switch, and I am going to film from the medium range budget camera so you can see what I am seeing and how it looks. So we're going to switch now to the decent level. I'm sorry, we're at decent level. We are going to switch now to the, I would call it the entry level medium range. So let's switch. All right, so as I've said, this is the second setup. As you can tell, it looks a lot different. You kind of get the shallow depth of field a little bit, but what this is a Sony Handycam. It's just a camcorder. You can pick this up on the used market, $50, $100. What I recommend for this is honestly, it's getting nice out. Garage sales would be great. A great place to get these. But what I think is something I'm going to cover in the lowest level, or the no budget level, which no shame and no budget, because like I said, I did it for the longest time, up until my 20s. We'll cover that later, but it's a Sony Handycam. It's on the same flexible tripod that I have resting on my computer monitor. And we are getting the sound out of a pocket recorder. So this is the Zoom H1, as you can see. This is something I picked up online, and it's pretty decent audio. Hopefully it's just not getting super loud and hurting your ears, but it's better than onboard. And honestly, a lot of these newer camcorders, which are onboard, have pretty decent sound already. In the entry-level budget, I did consider a ring light to be a part of that, because you can pick one up for $20-30 online. So that to me is still pretty entry-level, where if you're going to spend a little bit of money, and it looks okay. This is the same setting that I had for my DSLR before. And one thing I did forget to mention, on the Sony Handycam, or camcorder as you want to call it, you can go in to play with some technical settings to tweak things, but what's great about the DSLR, and you can really dial in your look, is you can literally change every setting in manual. And with all these videos, I'm not going to get super in the weeds and super in depth about everything I'm doing. I don't need to tell you the frame rate. I don't need to tell you the different settings that you're going to use, because honestly, it's all about dialing in your look. And yes, there's benchmarks for what you should do with what stop you're at, and the ISO and the shutter speed and all that. I mean, that's just not interesting to me. So if you're into that, great, but we're not going to dive into that in these videos. So again, camera, microphone, lighting, 3. The fourth area, tripod. Again, we already covered that. It's one you can get on Amazon that's flexible. I have it around my monitor so I can look at what I'm seeing and even see myself. And then this idea would be, it's all up to you. So that's entry level. I covered those areas pretty quickly because this is what I think is going to be most accessible to people that are a little bit more serious about it. So now that we went through the second level, we are now going to cover the third level. All right, we said no budget, so I am sticking with no budget for the third option. This is a cell phone. Filming on my cell phone right now. It's not a particularly nice one. It's an LG that I got. I'm on Virgin Mobile because I don't like paying a lot for cell phones. But as you can see, it's not super fancy. But again, the most important part in the fifth area that I covered is your idea. Your idea is the most important thing to you. So it's not always about quality, especially in 2021, a world ruled by cell phone uploaded footage. It's not even about quality anymore. I'm just covering the different areas. And as you can see, first part, video, sound is already incorporated. light. Now what we have here is a true freebie. This was given to me by my dad. That's what I was going to cover for the last area, is on this no budget. I think that's a great venue to explore, is people, loved ones that would be willing to give you something. You could even probably get this camcorder from a loved one. This is probably something that your parents, friends have just lying around, because honestly, people don't use them anymore. But as you saw, it's a step up from what we're currently seeing. So that covers the 3 budgets and the 5 areas of what you need for your content. And we are going to switch back to my main way of my setup. And I want to just say one last thing. And we're back to my decent budget setup, which is mine, which took me 10 years of filmmaking to acquire. So I'm proud of it, and I worked hard, and I appreciate and like the look it is. Some of you may be thinking, bro, that final thing was stupid. You just held up your cell phone. I disagree, because the most important part about this is you broadcasting your voice, what interests you, what you want to film, what you want to put online for people to see, because that's all of what YouTube is, right? That's what I'm doing right now. So those 3 setups are ways that you can go about it. I hope you learned something. If you're watching this video because you found my building rapport over the phone, that was actually a corporate gig that I got hired to shoot from I was working there, but also got extra money to film that. So that was a lot of fun. If you're here because of that, hopefully you can use what you've learned today to be able to make one of your own videos. If this is the quality that you are looking for, now you know the budget. From no budget to decent budget. I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you learned something, and I just want to say that this has been Negative Art Productions, and with that, I'm trying to bring art to YouTube one video at a time. Please subscribe down below so I can grow my channel and continue this journey of YouTube.